Hello, everybody. Greetings to all. Welcome to the Snooker World podcast. I'm Dan Murray. Those who have been listening to the show for a while will know that a big ethos of the show is to speak with personalities from all corners of the snooker world. Journalists, coaches, players, commentators, refs, superfans, you name it. Today, I'm joined by a gentleman who can share some insight from a number of those viewpoints. He is an experienced professional player, he's a well-known personality in the snooker community, and he is a highly respected snooker coach. It's a pleasure to welcome the Hitman, Michael Holt, to the Snooker World podcast.
Hello. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
As I mentioned in the intro, you've been a professional snooker player for a few years now.
Yep.
What other sports are you into, though?
Well, I love football. I like watching football. I'm the sort of person that can watch most sports because I'm always fascinated by the psychology of it, even if I don't really know what's going on. That's because obviously my lived experience of playing to the level I am at snooker, so I'm sort of always aware of how players are handling certain situations. But I suppose my favourite's got to be football, apart from snooker. Yeah.
And your team is?
It's Nottingham Forest because I'm from Nottingham. And anybody that supports the team that's not where they're born undermines everything they ever say ever.
Yeah, but they've had a pretty good season.
Absolutely, absolutely dream world. I mean, we've got a chance at the Champions League. It's a slim chance, but we need results to go forward, and we need to win. We need to beat Chelsea. But whatever happens, it's a fantastic year because we were obviously relegation form last year, or we was just survived. So I think the fact that we are where we are is European football guaranteed. So away days in Madrid.
Yeah, the Conference League is a guarantee, but so it will take a win against Chelsea and I think maybe a defeat for Aston Villa. Am I right?
Yes, I think Villa need to lose. We need to win. I think they can draw. I think we're still going because I think 1 point behind them.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
I think it's something like there's about 3,000 permutations. So I'm not one for geeking it. I'm just going to go, look, let's watch Forest. Let's win. Let's roll the dice and let's see how we go.
Let's see how we win. A couple of before we move on to the snookery part of the episode, I've got to say there are some real standout stories for Forest this season. I've always thought that Chris Wood is an underrated striker. Okay, a biggish striker, and he's not as down in terms of skill, but he's a very effective striker, and I'm really rooting for him to make it to the Century Club in the Premier League. I think he's only about 10 shy now.
Yeah, so he's got a chance. He's a great example again of how clueless football fans are. There's a few players in our squad at the moment. When we bought them, Twitter or whatever you call it goes up in arms. What we paid that for him for? It was screaming up when they bought Wood. Was it 15 million we paid for him? Fans going, they've had us over. They said it about Morgan Gibbs White. What we're paying 35, 40 million there for him. He's useless. He's ended up being a fantastic buy. We've bought who else have we got? Oh, the Anderson we bought from Newcastle again. They got Anderson who's just they're saying Newcastle are just having us over, but he's ended up being brilliant. So that's why I try and reserve judgment and just let the experts do it because they usually know what they're doing. Even if it doesn't work, doesn't mean they're clueless. It means it just didn't work. But yeah, it'd be great to see. He's just a great example of he's just kept his head down and done the job.
Yeah, he worked hard and
brilliant.
He gets some goals.
Absolutely, and he's been brillint. Is it 20 goals this year? That's a great feat in the Premiership.
Something like that, yeah. And considering that he spent a lot of time at Burnley, to be near the 100 club, it's pretty impressive. That shows
incredible, brilliant. And every credit to him.
The other one, just before we move on, is Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yes,
I was one of those. I really thought that when he was at Chelsea, and Bayern Munich won him, Real Madrid won him, Juventus won him, and no one really did. But you know what? He's done all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a massive bargain. I think he was like 4 million we bought him for, something around that figure, which is a steal, isn't it? Really, let's be honest. You can't get much for that nowadays in the Premiership, can you? But yeah, I mean, again, another great. We've got Elanga as well. He was like Manchester United didn't want Elanga. Brilliant. I mean, do you know what I mean? I think
he's actually kind of good.
He's the first player on the team sheet where they're playing at the minute, wouldn't he? But Yeah, so I think it's been great how they've plucked these players out that either not wanted or whatever, and he's built a great team, and he's got the players to play the system he plays, which is great. But I think the big manager, the owner might want more possession at some point. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm just enjoying the ride, mate. We had 25 years not doing this, so whatever happens, I'm just going to love it and suck it up.
Yeah, everything's a bonus after
Yes.
the fallow years. Yeah. Obviously, you're most known as a snooker player.
Yes.
Last season, I see on social media that you said that how did you describe? You said it was not bad last season.
Not bad. I think that's the best way to describe it. Not bad. I wanted to get in the 64 in 1 year. That was a mini goal, but I didn't get there. I didn't. I think my performances last year, I didn't play that well. I had I had a good one in the UK, obviously, but I mean, it's very rare I play anywhere near like I can. It's just you sort of get the balls in, but I think. I say I can't call it bad because at the end of the day, I'm in a decent position to get in the 64, which is obviously, you want to do more than that, than just stay on. But obviously that is a goal. It's always there, isn't it? You've got to try and stay on. And I'm very close to doing that already. I want to kick on and try and do better next year. If I can play better, I will win more matches. And then, eventually try and get in the top 32 again. That's the goal. I think the ultimate goal is to win a tournament. And everything takes care of itself then. Last year was okay. That's the best way I can put it, really.
It was all right, yeah.
It was all right.
One of the highlights was quarterfinals at the UK Championship. You beat some decent players along the way there. So
absolutely. Yeah, well, I won 6 matches in a row in a tournament in one event, which nowadays is tough. You're playing, they're all good. Most of them are players that can beat you. To win 6 matches in a row in an event is, coming through like qualifiers and then win a couple of matches at the venue was great. I think obviously having to be off the tour, it was nice to get into that big arena again, you know what I mean? And, mix it with sort of the best in the world. It was nice to do that because obviously I always felt like I could get on, but I didn't know I was going to get back on. So I didn't know whether those days were ever going to come again. And the fact that they did, I was, really chuffed with that. Although still disappointed to lose in the end.
Yeah. But you speaking of arenas, the Barbican is pretty popular amongst fans.
Yeah.
As a player, is it up there? Or?
Absolutely popular. I think it's a nice arena, especially with the 2 tables set up. It's really, really, really brilliant. It's perfect for that. I think the fact it's a nice city as well. It's a nice time of year. All these things are in the mix. It's just, it's a great event. And obviously it's the UK Championship, which is obviously the second biggest ranking event. So, yeah, for all those reasons, it makes it, a really great event to be in. And if you can sort of stay in it for as long as possible, it's great to experience that. And the crowds they're busy all week as well. So it's, it's all good.
And World Championship qualifying, you had a couple of good wins. Okay, you didn't make it to the Crucible, but you beat Ollie Lyons, decent player, and Stuart Bingham, former champion.
Yeah.
It's got to give you some confidence going into next season.
Yeah, it was obviously beating, players at that level was good. Obviously, Stuart, former champion, all that. I didn't feel like I played that well, to be honest. I think I won the matches that I did. I made mistakes that another day I get punished, but I didn't, so I got over the line. And when I played I played shocking, really bad, which was really disappointing. And again, I can lose to him anyway, obviously, because he's a brilliant snooker player. But when you lose matches, you always sort of reflect on how you've performed. Did you get chances to win, or did you get chances to win frames? I did. Like I said, I think on my post after, I think you've got to win 10 frames to win that match. I had enough chances to win 30 frames, and I won 4 of them. So it wasn't good. My level was terrible from start to finish, which it still stings a little bit now. Thanks for bringing it up. But we go again. Do you know what I mean? I have to play better than that. So it is what it is. We go again, like I say, through gritted teeth.
Fan Chengyi, okay, he's a good player. He's a ranking event winner.
He's an incredible player, incredible snooker player. He could beat me anyway, but on that match that day, he didn't play well to beat me. He just played a little less bad than me.
Yeah.
So, which is obviously disappointing. It's not the losing that kills you. That kills you, obviously, because you don't want to lose. But if you feel like you've had your chances and you've not played to a very high level, that is I can only speak for myself. That is the worst part about it for me. When you underperform, I still don't tell you. After years of doing it, you think I'd be used to it, and I'm not. It's like it's the first time every time. So
No, but this is competitive. This is what makes sport good, though. People
it
who are
is.
happy to, oh, I lost. No, you want people who are.
No, yeah, horrible. Yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah. I was in the theatre for both sessions of Fan Jingyi versus Mark Allen, and I
Yes.
assume you would have been drawn against Mark Allen. And Mark Allen won the match. I think it was 10-6 in the end, but I think it was like 9-4, if I remember correctly. Mark didn't really have to get out of second gear to win that match because, again,
No.
he didn't actually play that well. And he
No.
was giving Mark a lot of chances.
Yeah.
And I suppose what comes to mind is it was something Joe Perry said. It must have been a few
Yes.
years ago I heard this. He lost a UK Championship semi-final in a decider
Yes.
against David Gray.
I can remember. I'm a good friends with Joe, so he's moaned about it quite a lot to me.
But then he said what kind of hurt him more was the fact that David Gray just didn't really put up a fight in the final, and Stephen Maguire wiped the floor with him.
Yeah.
And he knows that he would have given Stephen a much better game, if not
Yeah.
beaten, possibly. But he knows he would have pushed Stephen a lot harder than David, and that was frustrating. Is it the same? How do you get over that?
No, I didn't think of it like that because I know that can happen. I just disappointed with the way I played because obviously I had enough chances to win. So I didn't really think about how he played after. Once I've lost, I'm just too bitter to even consider what he's doing next. One thing you do as a player sometimes, you can be playing someone that's playing really well, and then every match you look at, everybody's missing. So you're like, why am I not getting those chances? But so yeah, I think it's not best to look around. You've got to keep blinkers and just concentrate on what you're doing. Yeah, it's just, but whatever it's painful. What am I doing to myself?
No, you chose this. So.
I know.
So,
Every snooker player is driving himself a bit mad. It's really frustrating game. I think the way snooker's set up, I think because you're so helpless for a lot of the match, because you're just sitting there, there's nothing you can do. I think that's really bad. It's a really bad place to be because you can't do anything about it, and all you've got to do is sit there with your own thoughts. So it's so frustrating in that respect. And sometimes you don't even have to do anything wrong to be in that position. Whereas if you're playing football, you lose the football, you can try and get it back. You're in play all the time. Whereas snooker, you're not, and that is, yeah, that's why it's so brutal mentally.
this is something I've brought up with a few players, and I find it one of the most fascinating aspects of the sport is the fact that there's not much you can do from your seat.
No, nothing.
Elliot Slessor is just like, well, what can I do? I'm not perfect. I'm going to miss a shot eventually.
Yeah.
My opponent clears up. I tip my hat. And spoke to Jackson Page a few weeks ago, and Mark Williams came up in conversation, and he said that Mark Williams is absolutely incredible like this.
Yeah, he's
seen anyone be able to just shut out the negative. He makes a mistake or something goes against him, he can just ignore it and just get on with it. He said that this is a big advantage for Mark. Obviously, he's a great player.
Everything. I mean, he's like a psychopath out there. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? He's just. I mean, I don't know. I go get on with Mark, and I'd say to him, like, how do you do that then? Like, and he's just said, just whatever. I try my best. He says, I try my best. I'm absolutely trying to rip everyone's head off. But he says, if I try my best and I lose, I don't care. Although Matthew Harrington used to go around with him, his mate. He said, we have had a few frosty drives home. Do you know what I mean?
Tension, yeah.
He's not very happy about losing. But listen, Mark is one of the greatest champions, I mean, ever in anything. I mean, he's brilliant to keep doing it the way he is. And his temperament is just, freakishly good. Yeah. It's luck, really. He's just born with it.
He is a titan of the sport. And
yeah, he's incredible. And, it's been a blessing to be around the game while he's around and to watch him up close, achieving what he's achieved. Incredible. But a freak mentally. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
What are your thoughts on his run to the final in Sheffield?
Incredible. incredible. I mean, he plays it down so well, like he's, oh yeah, I can't see. And I know he's been struggling with his eyes, to be fair, but he just every time whatever it is, he'll play it down, I can't play as good as I used to and all that. But ultimately, he is, just a force, basically. And he's inspirational, really. I think he's a bit of an inspiration because he is 50. And I know snooker's not a physical game, but yeah, just it's incredible snooker player.
The passion that he says, "Oh, I can't play as well as I used to. My
Yeah,
eyes don't work. I'm old now. Whatever it may be." But
yeah,
to keep going at 50 years of age, he's been doing it for more than 30 years.
absolutely.
He's got to have something in his heart that drives him to
Mate, he
this.
loves
And
it.
exactly, yeah,
He,
he
he
must do.
told me once in a practice room before he was 40, I'm retiring at 40, and I said to him, "No, you won't," and he's still going at 50. So, do you know what I mean? I'm sure he meant it at the time, but I said I don't believe you, mate, and I was right.
Yeah, of course you were. Of
Great.
course you were. And speaking of Jackson Page, the aforementioned Jackson Page,
Yes,
he had a historic moment.
amazing.
What was the opinion amongst the other pros on this?
I haven't spoke that much about it actually with anyone, but I think the general consensus will be is amazing achievement, to do that, and it's a big thing for him. That's a lot of money, and
Yep.
it's huge, and a bit of history as well. So, and the way he did, I've seen the last few balls. It's like he didn't know he was on it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's obviously Mark Williams might be rubbing off on him, but no, an incredible achievement, and I'll give him, I'll shake his hand when I see him. I did. Oh no, I did see him actually. I saw him after in the practice room. Actually, and just says, mate, incredible. Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
I said to him that, as you mentioned, the last few balls, it looked like he was barely aiming and just they were
yeah,
just going in. Like he's a quick player anyway, but
absolutely.
you can kind of understand why. And he said he knew what was happening. He knew what was on the line in terms of history and
Yes,
money.
yeah.
You can understand if someone got a bit nervous and maybe a pot wobbled in the pocket, but they were going
Or just have a
for the
little
middle
deep breath.
clean.
Have
Yeah.
a little deep breath. But I mean, you would probably say, but he did the right thing. That's how he plays. I mean, ultimately, in professional snooker as a whole, the key is from moving to the coaching bit now, but the key is just playing the subconscious, just doing what you do every day down the club, and not letting anything get in the way of that, whether it nerves or anything. You just have to because when you're at that level, everything you're doing is, like I say, subconscious. You've done it loads of times before. So the art of doing that in a match is to not letting the conscious mind get in the way, just playing and doing what you do all the time. And that's what he did. He would have been wrong to start playing slower. He needs to just keep potting because he's obviously going in. But that is very easy said than done. To do that is tough. But he achieved it, and he was the right. Just keep playing, just keep potting, and yeah, incredible achievement.
He did unfortunately go on to lose his next
Yeah,
match against Joe O'Connor, so he did not make it to the
yeah.
Crucible. He said that he probably wouldn't switch the maximums for a shot at the Crucible, though. I know that's gonna have some that's gonna divide
I'm
some
sure he
opinion,
felt that
I
at
guess.
the time. I'm sure he did. I don't know. I mean, yes, it would have been losing in that event. Wherever your season's gone, or whatever you've achieved in the year, it's always a bit gutting because you want to end at the Crucible because that's where your season should end. But yeah, I'm sure he felt like that. But it's a big call, isn't it? He's achieved history there. Nobody remembered that he qualified for Crucible, but they'll remember forever that he made, those breaks.
I said to him that Alan Taylor will probably be a quiz question or an answer to a quiz question in
Absolutely.
10,
Yeah.
20 years'
And the thing
time.
is, Alan Taylor will love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely love that. You'd be buzzing.
no, he's a nice bloke, Alan, actually.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. But you love that.
the Crucible debate, Zhao Xintong eventually won it. We'll come on to him in a moment. What are your thoughts on the future of the World Championship?
Well, obviously, I see both sides. Nostalgia, I get it. I've played there 8 times, I think now, and yeah, I get it. It's an amazing place to play. special, unique, and it's got a lot of history there, and it's always full. But if the figures that are being bandied around are true about going to somewhere like Saudi or whoever, that's a lot of life-changing money flying about. And I think, right, so look, the game is some good money in the game. There is. You can earn some good money in the game. But it's not loads and loads of money down the list, right? Now, I've known players down the years that are from abroad that have got a chance to get on the tour, but they've knocked it back because the gamble isn't, the odds aren't in their favour. For them to up sticks, for them to keep playing and come to the UK most of the time and move away from the families, the money's not that much where, if they're looking at it from a statistical point of view, unless they become top 8, they're thinking that, unless because they're comfortable at home, it's not worth the gamble. Now, for the game to get bigger and more global, it's going to benefit the game if there's more money in the game. So more players want to take the punt at being a professional. So if that grows the tour money-wise, that grows the game and makes the game bigger, which in the future, if the prize money doubles in 10 years' time and players are much down the list are earning very good money, they're not going to worry about not going to the Crucible. And I know from a fan's perspective, it is obviously a bit of a nightmare because it's gutting because of the going to see it. But ultimately, what did Barry Owen say? You can't eat tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then look, I'm all for tradition. I get it. I think, but again, if it's just for a bit more money, it's not worth it. But if like I say, it's for the figures that have been banded around, it's for the game has to grow. The game has to grow. And I think it might be they have to do it for that reason. But we'll see. I'm not making a decision, and I don't want to be making that decision either.
Well, yeah, whoever makes the decision, if it does move,
yeah,
there will be outrage. Of course,
absolutely. It's a big call. It's a
it
massive
is.
call.
It's huge.
But I think maybe if you're going to take a step back and bigger picture, it might be the right thing to do. But again, I am parched. I'm sitting on that fence at the moment. What I think should or shouldn't do, but yeah, ultimately, money talks, doesn't it?
The tabloid headline will be Michael Holt refuses to back Crucible bid or something.
There we
like
go.
that.
That's right.
It's going to be
I'll be there going,
public enemy number one.
correct.
Yeah.
But it won't be the first time. So yeah, I think I don't know. It's a big corner, but like I say, it's got to be worth it because there is the argument that will you be playing if you do it in a bigger arena? Will it have the same sort of feel to it? Because it's not the Crucible's so intimate. So yeah, they'd have to be careful because although the money might be better, they'd have to make sure that the venue's right. They want to make sure that people is full for all those reasons. It's so many factors to it. But ultimately, I think the bottom line usually wins the day, doesn't it?
Money talks. Yeah. When was it? It was in March. I was on holiday and I happened to be in Hong Kong for the final of the World Grand Prix. So I went to that.
Yeah.
And it's a 4,000 or 5,000 seater arena. As Rob Walker was introducing the players,
Yeah.
Rob Walker's good at what he does.
Yeah.
But what did I say? I said that something like Frank Sinatra would struggle to get a reaction necessary to fill up that space.
Yeah.
Because the arena was only about a quarter full.
Right.
And after maybe 2 or 3 frames, hundreds of latecomers came in. And then the atmosphere was actually a lot better.
Yeah.
But for the introduction, it kind of felt empty. And there's so much space with only a quarter crowd. And that was tough. And we saw it in Riyadh as well. Some of the matches, there was very low attendance. And I think that would be the danger.
Absolutely, they would have to tackle that problem, because you don't, again, with the World Championship, you're playing in front of, even the qualifiers is busy. Do you know what I mean? At the judgment day. So yeah, you would have to make sure that there was enough of a thirst or interest to sort of fill whichever arena you choose. But I wouldn't want to go too big. I mean, 5,000 is a lot. Do you know what I mean? That's too big, I think. Maybe you can't really see. I can't imagine. But yeah, it'd have to be. Well, what's the Masters, 2.5?
It's about 2.5, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a good size.
yeah, and if you're in, where was I? So I sat pretty much all over Alexandra Palace for that.
Yeah.
The front row, it's not bad. I'd rather have an elevated vantage point
Well, but then people can make that decision, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's...
Yeah, with the Crucible, you see, it's a great view everywhere.
It is. It's, yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're playing as a player, if you're playing from the jaws of the middle pocket and the crowd are behind you, literally they can just reach over and touch your arm. It's like so close.
Push the cue, give you a bit
push
of
the cue.
power.
You can hear him whispering, going, "Oh, look at him shaking." So it's also nice.
No, but it's, you know, that intimacy, you don't get it anywhere else.
That is what I say. So again, like I say, it's a big call. Again, I'm on the fence, sitting there, not moving.
Obviously, the Saudi Arabia debate has come up recently, but before that, it was China was the big talking point. Will the World Championship move to China? Yes. And now that we have the first World Champion from China, what impact do you think this will have on the game?
Well, it can only be good. They've obviously invested a lot of time and effort, to try and produce. They've had Ding, who's still for me the best player they've ever produced. He's incredible, but he just hasn't won the World Championship, which is tough score, But obviously, Zhao, great. It's great to watch. He's a fantastic player. He's gonna. It can only make the game bigger out there, which hopefully the game for the rest of the tour, it helps the tour as well. So everybody be sort of like, it's not before long. It's your time, is it, that they've got a world champion, and it's a great one at that. Do you know what I mean? So it's fantastic. I mean, we probably could go over there. I think my idea for the World Championship is we do a golf style thing like the Open. So if it can be move around, so every 4 years it has to go back to this Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
But we can then go around the world. That would be, to keep that link with the Crucible, that would be a decent idea, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then you can put it out to tender, can't you? You can put it out to tender. Cities can bid for it.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd have some bids from Beijing, Riyadh.
Yeah, brilliant.
Maybe even Berlin. I think the Tempodrome's a great arena.
Yeah.
It's
maybe that's a decent compromise. I don't know, but I'm sure people that know more. I don't know what I'm talking about. So people would say it wouldn't work for this reason. But I think it'd be a shame to lose that link with Sheffield because it's so much history. But we wouldn't lose that history. But yes, I think to lose it would be a shame. But again, if we go back there every 4 years, it doesn't. It's going to go back, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, people, and I myself, I can be cynical at times, as can we all. But one potential.
I live my life doing that, so
well, you're
cynical.
Not. One potential negative of having a big focus on China, especially now with the Chinese champion, is there is the potential that it could damage or hinder an expansion into mainland Europe, because we've lost the European Masters, we've lost the Riga Masters, which I believe you were a finalist in one year.
I did get to the final, yeah. Neil was incredibly lucky to beat me, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens with him, yeah.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
We lost Gibraltar. We've had events in other parts of Europe as well.
Yeah.
Do you think this could... Because I would like to see more events in continental Europe, because the German is so good. There is a thirst for it amongst fans, but I guess it's the same. Money talks.
It's money. It's all about money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure World Snooker would put events on every 3 days if they could. I mean, you can't just put an event on. There's a lot more to it than just putting an event on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they would put it on if they could. But obviously, like I say, there's a lot of different factors have to sort of work, doesn't it? But like you say, snooker is a game that's, quite popular in a lot of places. It's always a little bit of a niche, isn't it? But it is watched by a lot of people, and I think, Dan, it seems to have a different image wherever you go. It seems like in China, they like us wearing the dicky bows, and they like that sort of image. Whereas
The pageantry of it.
yeah, they love all that. So, and that's great, and that's why we keep them there. But then other parts of the world, you don't seem like it's that they love that so much. But yeah, again, it's these people are not clever and me at that, putting events on. Been given that job, and I'll let them crack on.
And speaking of the dicky bows, what do you think about the dress code?
I've always been. It wouldn't be a bad thing to change, but I think it's part of it, isn't it? And how many people are switching off because they're wearing a dicky bow?
Millions.
Really?
Well,
Nobody. Nobody is. If you like snooker, you like snooker,
yeah.
don't you? The game's the game. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's here nor there, to be honest. I think for the players, it might be more comfortable to not wear one. I mean, yeah, I feel better without one, if that makes any odds. I think it's a lot more comfortable. But the fact that I am, I mean, I don't know. I don't think people aren't turning off because of it. I don't think.
Yeah. No, I've always thought that you got to look professional. You have to look
Yes.
smart. Of course, that is a.
I've always felt though with the shirt, like when they wear shirts or not waistcoats. It's not. I think some players pull it off better than others.
The shirts, yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that is part of it. I think. So I just think, yeah, I don't think it'd make a difference either way. I'm sort of again sitting on the fence again, but I don't think it's a problem.
But well, you speaking of fans,
yes,
I'm a huge snooker fan. I've been watching snooker for many years, but I'm still not a great player. I was playing.
Book yourself in.
I could do that. I mean, you'd have a job. You'd have a job on your hands because I was proud of a. I got excited actually. The last frame of snooker I played, or the last session of snooker I played, my opponent left me in with an easy red to start.
Yes.
And I potted the black afterwards.
Very good.
Potted a red, and then another black, and 2 reds, 2 blacks. And honestly, I thought,
He's on.
I'm on there. I missed the next red. So, so the high break of the session was 16.
That does happen.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had breaks lower than 16.
A few times. Yeah.
So I'm nearly as good as you then. So
correct. Yeah, you're probably better. So.
Yeah. But you've been playing for a while now. How easy is it to transfer your knowledge to someone who, let's be honest, is probably not going to be as good as you? I know there are some voices. So Stephen Hendry,
yes,
social media recently, speaking about you and your coaching, he said that he knows nothing about coaching, but I think that Stephen Hendry is the greatest player of all time. And if he knows nothing about coaching,
controversial.
It is, and I've got a bit of stick over that.
Yeah,
but I think it must take a certain type of person to be a good coach.
Yeah, I think when he says he doesn't know anything, he obviously knows a bit, but I don't think what he means is he's not a student of the game as far as in he has thought about it as much. He's just basically gone out there and played how he does, and just because of his monster mindset, he's obviously had a lot of success. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff he knows how to play shots, where he needs to hit, and all that. But the sort of technical side. But my whole ethos is that people are wrapped up with too much of the technical stuff anyway. It's not most of the time. People are not improving, not because of the technique. It's for other stuff. I'm not saying that they couldn't improve on the technique. It could become more repeatable, but the amateurs are really bad aimers, really bad. They assume that they're good when they're not. And I'm talking about 100 break players that think they're good aimers. No, they're not. They could be a lot better.
See, that's fascinating because I'm nowhere near. My high break ever is 23. So
Yeah, I mean,
imagine
yeah.
how
So
good.
right, so for you, right, so if you was a good aimer and your highest break was 23, you'd have to have the worst cue action ever.
It's
Awful.
possible.
And then it won't be that bad. It won't be that bad. I'll tell you what surprised me, because it's been a bit of a learning experience for me. I've done coaching. I've got notes on over 550 people now. I've coached a lot right now for the last few years. It's been a bit of an education and quite an interesting journey. What I've realised is most amateurs' cue action is better than what they think. And when we film stuff, when in my sessions we film you hitting balls and things like that, we see that a lot of amateurs get their Q-tip back to where they're addressing a lot, but they're really off on what they're trying to do. So it's not the cueing not always. Obviously, some amateurs, most amateurs can improve, but it's not the biggest problem that they've got. So, yeah, because the stuff that I talk about on my channel, on my YouTube channel, check it out, and on social media. People are obviously for some reason I've got against the grain a little bit in the coaching world, and I've not tried to be. I've not gone out there trying to do that. It just happens to be because I see it from a player's point of view, and I know what you have to be thinking about to play to a high level. It is not your feet or your elbow or your grip or your whatever else bizarre stuff people are thinking about. So it's a bit of a different message just by chance. And then obviously I'll probably put a few no's out of joint. I've probably upset a few people because I'm undermining a lot of their opinions, a lot of these coaches out there. And then they have to make an argument back, or they have to at least comment on what I'm doing. And they're saying what Michael is talking about it's professional stuff. This is not for amateurs. Well, no, right? The game's the game, right? So if you set a shot up, I've got to hit the same part of the cue ball in the same line as you have and Ronnie O'Sullivan has. So I'm just showing people this, so at least they can try and attempt to hit these spots. But it's different for amateurs. It's a different level, but the game, the physics of the game are the same. And I can't get my head around people are making an argument against that. I just find it fascinating. Really, it's been mad.
Well, it's true. It's if you attempt a shot or I attempt a shot,
Yeah,
we have to perform the same
yeah, hit the
actions
same
to
spots. Yeah,
get the right result.
because the ball doesn't know something. The ball's just an object being hit by another object. It's hitting a ball with a stick. It's not rocket science. So
Just
that ball
geometry.
doesn't know who's doing it. It's just being hit in a direction in a certain spot. So it doesn't matter who does it. But I'm just saying, look, these are what you need to hit, these spots. At least try and hit them. But people are obsessed with cue action, like just forever. And like the doom loop never ends because they're really bad at aiming. So it's
So
never going to
aim,
get anywhere.
but it sounds like such a simple thing. It's like, well, no,
But it's
just
simple. It's
aim
absolutely
better.
simple. It's not.
Just aim.
This game is not rocket. Listen, if this game was rocket science, right? Snooker players wouldn't be able to play it. It'd be too hard. And I'm one of them.
It's an interesting insight. No, I've never
Absolutely.
thought about it this way.
Absolutely.
I
And I
just
think no, nobody thinks about it. It's mad. It's unbelievable. It's some dark science. I'm like, no, it's not. It's hitting a ball with a stick.
I suppose all sports have been revolutionised in some way. Even the high jump. Someone
Yeah.
just was it Dick Fosbury? He
Yes.
just thought,
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
just try it a different way. It's still within the rules. I'll
Yeah.
just do it a different way, and oh, would
That
you
way. Yeah.
the world
But I'm
increases
not
by.
trying to reinvent anything. I'm just getting back to basics. I'm getting back to what the game is. I'm not trying to be some kind of sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Some change the way things are. I'm trying to get rid of all the mess. That's what I'm saying. I say, no. What are we talking about that for? When I do my coaching lessons, one of the first things I say to people is, I don't want you to believe anything I say today. I don't want you to believe me because I'm a good player. I want you to question me. And if I show you something, if you question it, I'll show you. And if you question me again, I'll show you again. And that process will keep going until you see it in front of you so many times. You go, well, that must be reality.
Because I suppose the reality is true whether they believe it or not.
Well,
Yes.
if you keep watching it, eventually the penny will drop, won't it?
Yeah. It was last autumn I spoke with Colin Matty, WPBSA qualified
Nice
coach.
guy. He booked himself in.
Okay.
I've
But
seen
he
him.
said to me once, he was working with Terry Griffiths, and I've
Yes.
said this a number of times on the podcast. Terry Griffiths said to him once, "I'll probably learn something from you today, Colin." And Colin just couldn't get his head around. It's like, well, you're Terry Griffiths. You're like, how can you learn from me? But it's just, I've always found that
Yeah, I
fascinating.
mean, yeah, you probably did. You probably will learn what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, I've learned. Again, I've learned a lot of what amateurs are doing because I've been in my snooker bubble, for professional snooker bubble for 25 years, and then I had to take a little step out of it because of COVID hit and we lost a lot of events, and so I thought I needed a bit of a side hustle. I don't know what they're doing, and then I dropped off the tour, which was a disaster. But now I'm back on. I'm happy I dropped off. I'm happy I dropped off. It's one of the I'm lucky. I feel blessed to have dropped off.
So you would say that coaching, maybe it's made you a better player as well?
Well, I'm always reminding myself of the basics, always, and they are usually what you need to go back to. I mean, look in the Ronnie O'Sullivan driving himself mad, wasn't he? Circle of death, I call it. All they're doing is thinking about, listen, it can happen to all players, like professionals. I've done it. I know what the circle of death is because I've been there. I've driven myself mad. I'm in a room with no windows and not playing as well as I'd like, and my head's going. So yeah, I've done it, but eventually you have to come back to sort of what the game is all about and what you need to be thinking about. But what I've found is amateurs worse than pros. You're all pickled,
Yeah.
all in bits, and
But
you're all.
shoot,
And the thing is, it don't help. It don't help because you've got so much stuff out there, channels and people are just talking. I mean, in my opinion, just talking nonsense about all this stuff you need to be thinking about. You need to make 3 feathers. You need to take 2 feathers. You need to stand, put your foot there. And I don't know if you've seen my channel, but when it comes to stance, people genuinely believe they're missing because of the stance. And I've not met anyone yet that's missing because of the stance. Irony of all irony is that one of the guy that actually really had to change it was a guy that one of the first things he said to me says, "I've been working really hard on my stance," and it was so bad. That was really funny. But generally, nobody's missing because of the stance, and people are spending hours and hours on the stance, and I'm like, well, like I say, I'm not going to plug my channel again, but on my channel, I clear the lineup so it's 36 different shots, and I do 36 different stances, a different stance on every shot. And I clear the lineup. And then on another video I do grips. People think they're missing because of the grip. I clear the lineup with 36, so it's 36 different shots with 36 different grips, and they all go in. So it's not your grip, is it?
Yeah.
I've not met anyone yet's missing because of the grip. I really haven't. But people are spending hours. I'm missing because of this. My pinky is not on the cue. I'll play you for a tenner, and I'll have my pinky on the cue. See how we get on.
Well,
It's
Colin
not.
said to me that I think you mentioned Stuart Bingham. Stuart Bingham he twists his arm at the end of the action. He said,
Yeah,
well, the textbook will say you shouldn't do that. But
nonsense.
Stuart Bingham's done all right. It's not.
Yeah, it's done all right. Yeah. It's absolute nonsense. When you get the textbook, put it in the bench, set it on fire. That's what I think they should do with it, because
Yeah.
that's not my opinion. If you look at the tour, the best players in the world, they do a lot of stuff wrong, apparently.
And actually, that's a good point. So, Judd Trump, when you
Yeah,
see him
correct.
lining up a shot,
Yeah,
it looks like he's missing the ball completely.
yeah,
But, well, he pots more balls than most players, let's just say
absolutely.
that. But it looks like, but he must be applying some sort of spin to the ball.
No, he's not. He's not. He's just hitting. All right. So no, he's just hitting the correct part of the cue ball to play the shot. It doesn't matter where your cue's going or where it's coming from, because that contact point's a tenth of a second. It's gone. See you later. People getting through the ball. What does that mean? You can't get through the ball. The ball gone. It leaves the cue tip after 3 mil. It's nonsense. People say I don't get through the ball back because I don't get through the white. I don't know what you mean by through the white. What do you mean? They say, no, I'm getting enough follow through. No, you're not hitting low enough. That's what's happening.
But with good
Yeah.
coaching, maybe they'll correct that.
Well, yeah, we work on it's the correct spots, yeah, but it's not because you're not getting through it. You can't get through the cue ball. When you hit it, it's in contact for a tenth of a second. It's gone after about 3 mil. So the split second before and after it, tenth of a second, 3 mil, you're not in contact with the cue ball. So what's that doing?
That's just where you got to aim straight, right?
You don't have to aim straight because Judd Trump, you have to hit the correct spot of the cue ball. Yeah, it's such a mess. Absolutely, what Judd Trump does, which is what a lot of players do. To be fair, he's not the only one that does that. Loads of players do that, but he does it quite extreme. But again, he's in a great example. If you need to cue straight, he'd be the worst player you've ever seen because he never cue straight. He hits the correct part of the cue ball at the correct point, at the correct speed. But you see him physically, you've got real world examples of someone there that's not going straight. He's coming across the line. I mean, don't have to take my word for it, it's there.
Yeah, it's effective. His record speaks for itself. Yeah.
I hope to go across the cue ball like he does next season.
So Judd Trump is an elite player.
Yes.
But you work with players of a decent level. Do you work with all
any
of
level? I've done complete beginners, and I've done people who are on the Q tour trying to sort of get on the Pro Tour. You know.
And what would you say to someone who is maybe nervous, apprehensive, maybe even embarrassed to go to snooker lessons because they think they're really bad? What would you say to someone?
Well, don't. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, my sessions are relaxed. I do workshops as well. We have a bit of a giggle with that. It's just snooker. It's not, it's not that important. That's why people, when I get because I've gone against the grain a little bit with my channel and my posts, because you can't offend me. So I think it's quite funny. I don't take it too seriously. It's only snooker coaching, right? If you don't want to use help inside, don't use it. It's fine. You crack on. Keep missing. But you know what I mean? But I'm not, and I get nasty emails. I've had nasty emails, and I've had people really, what you're saying is wrong and blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, so I'm trying to be relaxed about it. It's all right. It's fine.
People send you nasty emails about this.
Honestly, I've had,
because they disagree and you're
because I'm
challenging the norm. I mean, people challenge the norm in all aspects of life, and I suppose
people are very angry.
Yeah,
I think I'm undermining because I'm undermining their opinions. I think it's people don't like it, do they? And again, yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's a strange one, but I just think don't do it. Then it's fine.
Yeah, it's like the Ricky Gervais guitar lessons thing.
Yeah,
I don't want guitar lessons.
It's all right then. It's fine.
Don't take it then. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a strange one, and I must admit, joking aside, I'm quite enjoying the coaching because I'm enjoying. Because honestly, I see loads of people that are just basically saying, "I'm nearly had enough of the game because I'm just driving myself mad." One thing I've found is really funny is what people do is they play twice a week, right? And then they love it and they play all right. And then what they do, they think, I need to get my own table. So what they do, they achieve the dream. So they have the extension bill, they get a table, put it in new cloth, new set of balls. So then what they think, right, I've got my own table now. I'm going to play. I'm going to become a good player. So what they do then, they have a bit of coaching, or they go online and they're going down the rabbit holes online, just like that. Looking at this video says I need to do this. Before they know it, they forgot how they played when they started, and they're in absolute bits. And I've had loads of people come to me going, bought my own table 18 months ago, I'm getting rid of it, I'm worse now. And that's because they're completely distracted from what you need to be thinking about because of all the mess out there. So I say, no, when you put yourself in with me, I say, I'm not going to tell you loads of stuff to do, but what we're going to do, we're going to put an imaginary bin in the corner of the room and we're going to fill it with all this nonsense. And that's what we do. And then just strip it back and say, right, that's what we need to think about, and just go and enjoy playing. And it seems to work pretty well.
I would say that from the fans' point of view, and on a personal level, I would say that snooker itself has not changed. Okay, maybe the technique has changed, maybe the way some break building, maybe it's more aggressive in terms of tactics now, but the science behind snooker has not changed.
No, it's hitting a ball with a stick.
You can't overthink it.
Absolutely. Really I've spoken to professional footballers about that that, they talk about coaching and they talk about this. It's just basically pass it to someone and find a space, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Put the ball in the net and find.
Just kick the ball over
force
there.
them,
Yeah, so
force a mistake and score a goal.
There's more to it, obviously, than that. But do you know what I mean? I think we can get wrapped up in. I mean, again, I know nothing about football, but I'm just making that silly point. But I know snooker. I do know what I'm doing, and I can do it as well. So, and again, I will always question myself. I get imposter syndrome every day of my life, so I will question myself all the time, which I think makes me quite good at it, because I'm not going to blindly believe something unless I know that it's right, because I'm just frightened of making myself look an idiot, which I'm sure I've done loads of times in my life, but you know what I mean.
Some of the people who've been quite effusive in their praise for your coaching.
Yes.
Voices: Barry Hawkins, one of my favourite players, Neil Robertson, Stephen Hendry, as I said, for me, the GOAT. I mean, this is grand praise.
Yeah, I mean, I think Stuart as well. But I mean, Stuart mentioned the circle of death, Stuart Bingham, when he said like it's a real thing, and all players will know that, So it's nice. It's been nice, actually. It's been quite flattering to get some nice sort of comments from. When I've known these people a long time, but they're not going to put the name to something that they know is just nonsense. They know what I'm saying. I spoke to Neil a few times about it, Neil Robertson, because he's a bit of a snooker geek like me. And yeah, we've had some interesting conversations about it. And, he's sort of on, he agrees with what I'm saying, basically. I think when it comes to junior stuff, I think there is coaches out there overcoaching kids. Absolutely. And it can be a rocky road, that, when they're thinking about cue action, and you don't need to mess about with that. You need to let your ability come out. You need certain things you need to be aware of. But yeah, I've seen a few examples of, you can just see there's some coach, and I use that term very loosely at times, in their air roll, trying to make them cue like this. And it didn't work for the coach, did it? Because they couldn't play. So it's a rocky road, because if you get down that circle of death, I know it's a bit of a jokey phrase, but that's ruined players. That has ruined players, that has. And I've known loads of players down the years that have just driven themselves mad. And in the end, they don't know how to cue. I mean, Stephen Hendry said a few times, didn't he, towards the end, he was finishing matches with a different cue action than he started. So he could get the best. I mean, look, Ronnie O'Sullivan's messing about. A lot of players come out of it the other end, but it has ruined players. So I think that's something, yeah, you have to be careful of. Definitely. And that's what I spoke to Neil about.
I suppose related to this topic of young players and coaching, I spoke with John Hunter. He's one of the top guys at Q Stars.
Yeah.
And one of his ethos was just like, give young kids, boys and girls, a chance to play.
Absolutely.
And if they're good enough, with a little bit of help, maybe even not intense coaching, but just a bit of guidance.
That's all you want.
Maybe the tactical side of the game. They might be.
Yeah, well, that will learn. Well, look, absolutely right. So this thing, right, when they're kids, right, I've coached a few kids, and some of the parents are there, and this, that, are there, and and sometimes they'll say, "Oh, he's playing the wrong shot," and I'm going, "Sound. He's a kid. He's not paying the mortgage." So what he should do is, I say, go for everything, right? Try and experiment with the cue ball. I want you to learn how to manipulate that ball. I don't want you to just pot straight long blues all day. It's a massive snooze fest. I want you to get the reds open, and I want you to try and make 100 every time you play, and I want you to experiment and enjoy playing the game, because one day you might be in a bit of trouble. You might need to be able to do something, but if all you've been doing is practicing in straight lines all the time, you don't know what to do. It's not that's not the game. So, and I'm saying, look, it's all right as saying, look, to some kid, saying, look, don't go for this, you need to play the right shot, blah blah blah. But he'd always want to scratch that itch, or she will want to scratch that itch. So I'm saying, do it, scratch the itch, and if you lose because of it, you'll learn. It'll hurt you, because it don't matter. You're only 12. If you lose, it's fine. You go to school on Monday. So, yeah, but do you know what I mean? It's fine. You're not paying your mortgage. So I'm saying, go for it, experiment, play, and then as you develop, which teenagers develop at different rates. So you can sometimes be really good at 12, and then you might have to hang back for a couple of years because you're maturing at different ages. But don't rush it. Just play as much as you can. Enjoy the game. Know the basics, and find your game. And it's a bit of a cliche. Sounds like a bit of a cliche. And then if you're good enough, you'll do all right. But to just be completely coached when you're a kid is no good. I know, and that's something I'm very sure of. And don't do that, whatever you do, because it spoils the enjoyment. I'm quite passionate about that, and I hate that phrase, but I really am, especially when it comes to the juniors. Really, really, as you can tell.
Yeah, no, it's nice to hear someone who's actually passionate about what they're doing. And do you know what? In many ways, and they're not just in this aspect of life, but I do some language tutoring, and kids in school when they're learning French or German, it's all der Hund, die Katze. It's okay, but that doesn't help you. You need to actually speak the language. Learning grammar tables and grammar rules. That's not language. Just like learning how to knock in a long blue.
Yeah.
That's not snooker. That's just like 1% of snooker.
Yeah. It's not the game.
Doing it is the
Doing it. You
the most important part.
beat doing it. And then you learn how you do that and how it feels to do that. And that is such a big part of the game. It's such a big part. Even the players that you see on tour that look like robots, they're feeling the game. They just look quite robotic, but they are feeling the game. They don't feel like that because you can't play the game like that.
Well, we humans. I mean?
It's a really funny one, but I just keep doing the right thing, hopefully, and yeah.
But in terms of doing the right thing, so you had a couple of good runs last season, particularly that UK Championship. What are your goals for the coming season?
Well, obviously, just get on the tour, which I'd have to be really bad to not do that in the position I'm in. But I think just to progress, to play better more, I think that's really important to me. Obviously, you've got to win, but if I play better, I'll win more matches. So that's the key to everything, which for me, that's just bringing down the anxiety or the nerves, really. That's something that's, again, I'm not on my own. There's loads of players like me that can play to a much higher level than they normally do in matches, but that's just the nerves. I think that's what sets, look at Xintong. I mean, when he won it, he's no release. I'm saying, is he all right? You know what I mean? He just seems so calm, it's incredible. But, so yes, back to me, that's something that I will benefit from the most. I can improve in most areas, obviously, but the thing that I would get most benefit out of, and the thing I'm worst at, is dealing with them emotions or anxieties or nerves, whatever you want to call it. So if I do that, I'll definitely win more matches, and then you never know where that takes you. You never know what's around the corner in this game, so if you can keep swinging, you never know, you might connect.
It's true. If you don't try, you never succeed.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you success for the coming season. I want to say thank you mostly for your time, actually. And, well, not that your opinions are not important, but I think taking the time to speak about snooker, I think it's important. And I found that snooker has been really accessible in that way. I've spoken to some wonderful people in this sport, and everyone views the sport slightly differently, but that's good. If everyone is the same,
it'd be boring.
Yeah. But no, I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Sharing some insight on that. And just a reminder, where can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, Michael Holt coaching, snooker coaching. And we've got a website just gone live, michaelholtsnooker.com. So yeah, I'm out there. If you can find me somewhere, and then if you want to get in touch with me, then there's loads of ways of doing that. And if you want to put yourself in, we'll do it.
That's good. Thanks for your time, Michael. I appreciate it.
Thank you.